On the evening of July 21st, 2009, Henry, his friend James, and each of their girlfriends, Heather and Jamie, drove to an area outside of Tonopah, not far from Palo Verde Nuclear Power Plant, in hopes to see a UFO. They've gone UFO hunting in this area before and had seen strange things in the sky. They knew that some of the local residents had seen UFOs there on a regular basis, and some of them said that they were chased by UFOs while driving in their cars. Says Henry, this is a hotspot. It was about 10 miles away from Luke Air Force Base, out in the desert. They were driving down a dirt road in the middle of nowhere when they saw a flashing light. They drove closer and were able to approach within 250 yards of the light, which now appeared to be a craft of some kind. At this point, emotions were running high, says Henry. All of us were really scared, but at the same time curious. My friend's girlfriend was crying and telling us to turn around. Henry and James, however, were transfixed by the sight. It was the size of 3 football fields, says Henry. It was triangular in shape, windows around it. It was about 3 stories tall, 30 feet off the ground. We flashed our lights, and it flashed back in the same sequence of flashes. My friend James and I got out and walked closer. The closer we got, the better we could make out what was standing in the windows. To their shock, they saw 2 different types of alien figures, including short figures with large heads, and other figures around 8 feet tall. As they watched, some of the windows, which had been darkened, lit up to reveal more alien figures. James was videotaping the entire event, says Henry. I was terrified, but excited at the same time. We walked closer, but had to stop because the heat coming from the craft was so intense. The craft hovered and then landed. A large panel on the bottom of the craft opened, and then 2 aliens proceeded to walk out. This absolutely terrified us more, but we couldn't move or talk. I remember trying to scream and say run. We couldn't move or talk. Heather and Jamie were in the car honking the horn, screaming to come back, but we couldn't respond or move. The aliens walked up within 20 feet of us. One of them was very thin and tall, about 8 to 9 feet tall. The other was about 3 to 4 feet. We stood there in amazement and shock, still unable to move or speak. Henry and James had no choice but to wait for what would happen next, says Henry. Then a calmness came over us. They were speaking to us telepathically. They were saying not to be scared. They weren't going to harm us. This conversation went on between the 4 of us for 15 minutes. They said they were here to help us, so we would not destroy our planet, and that there were horrible events coming soon, and it had to be stopped. James asked if it was something like 9/11. They commented, no, bigger, and it would be coming from the Middle East. As he stood there, Henry recalled having been visited by the same ETs earlier in his life as a child. One of the ETs then confirmed this and told Henry that they contacted him when he was 6 years old. The conversation continued. The ETs said they had been expecting them, and they wanted Henry and James to warn people about what happens if humans don't start taking care of their planet, says Henry. Visions of disaster entered our heads, as if to show us what's to come if we don't warn people. The taller alien walked closer and held my hand. I was no longer scared. Neither was James. He said we would see him again soon and warn people about saving our planet, to both James and I. Then the conversation ended. The ETs turned around and entered the craft, which departed in a split second. Henry and James, who had recorded the entire event, both fell to the ground in shock. They immediately got to their feet and went back to the car. Their girlfriends were no longer crying, but just hugged them. They tried to start the car, but the engine wouldn't turn over. They sat there for a minute when finally the car worked. They started to drive away when a large spotlight hit the top of their car, and 3 military helicopters appeared overhead. Seconds later, there were 5 military jeeps following them. The girls started crying, while Henry told James to hide the camera. Henry continued to drive until somebody in one of the Jeeps began to speak over a loudspeaker, ordering them to pull over, or they would be forced to shoot, says Henry. We pulled over, and the military soldiers surrounded the car. 2 men dressed in black opened the door and asked us to get out. While other men searched the car, one man began to question the witnesses, asking them why they were in that area, what had they seen, how long they had been there, if they had any contact with the alien craft. They wanted to know the size and the shape of the craft, and if they had communicated with it. Henry and the others played dumb. The men searching the car found the camera and, after reviewing it, confiscated the camera and told the witnesses they were not allowed to speak about the incident. Then one of the officials separated Henry from the others and questioned him in the back of one of the vehicles. The man wanted to know if Henry had any prior experiences with ETs. Henry denied this, and the military officials dropped him off at a restaurant in Tonopah near Interstate 10. Henry called James from there. 1 month later after the incident, Henry reported the encounter to the NUFORC, writing, "It was a crazy night, but I had to report this. Our evidence is gone, but this really happened. We questioned the people who lived in the area, and they all saw the craft and the military soon after. So we aren't crazy, and there are 4 of us who witnessed this, along with people who lived in the area who saw the craft. We talked to 15 people who lived in the area, and all but 1 saw the craft."